This is 323. We're still in Introduction to Optimization. We're going to look at another linear programming problem. And so we're going to optimize a situation given parameters. Now, as a quick review, when we're doing linear programming, remember that there's always a situation that needs to be maximized or minimized. There's going to be restrictions to the situation. We need to find the solutions at where they exist. Now, that's where all of the regions overlap. And we want to take a look at the vertices, or where they intersect, because that represents where it's maximized or minimized. And then we verify those vertices. We plug them in to see which one gives us the max or min depending on what we need. So here's our next example. It says a company produces two types of tables, T1 and T2. It takes 2 hours to produce the parts of 1 unit of T1, 1 hour to assemble, 2 hours to polish. It takes 4 hours to produce the parts of 1 unit of T2, 2.5 hours to assemble, 1.5 hours to polish. Per month, 7,000 are available to producing the parts, 4,000 for assembling, and 5,500 for polishing the tables. The profit per unit of T1 is 90 and per unit of T2 is 110. How many of each type of table should be produced in order to maximize the total monthly profit? So breaking it down again. Remember, the first thing we always need to do is find the situation that needs to be maximized or minimized. And so the pieces that I saw here was how many of each type of table should be produced in order to maximize. So I know I need to maximize it. And because I'm talking about profit, where else does it talk about profit? It says the profit here, right there. Okay? And so I can go through, and because I know that's where my profit is, it's 90 times table 1, and then 110 times table 2. Once again, to make it a little easier, I'll just say T1 is X and T2 is Y. And so I can say my profit is 90X plus 110Y. So now, let's find the restrictions to the situation. So there were a few things in there that it said that I can't just have unlimited amount of time to do it. And the first, it talked about polishing. It talked about it took time to produce, and it took time to assemble. And so let's look at where it talked about polishing. And so it said 2 hours to polish, 1.5 hours to polish, 5,500 total polish. Okay, so for table 1, it said 2 hours to polish. That's 2x. 1.5 for table 2, so that's 1.5y. And so the maximum amount of hours is 5,500, so that's going to be less than or equal to 5,500. Then it talked about producing. And so 2 hours to produce, 4 hours to produce, and I have 7,000 available for producing. So 2x plus 4y is less than or equal to 7,000. And then now assemble. And so it took 1 hour to assemble the x, and it took 2.5 hours to assemble the y, and I had less than 4,000 total. And then we can't forget, can't produce 0 tables or negative tables. I can only produce 0 or a positive number of tables. And so once we have our restrictions here, now we can take them and we can graph them. So I took all of these and I plugged them into Desmos. And when I did that, this region right here, this is that region of feasibility. And so that right there. And so what I want from this is I want the vertices. And so the vertices were 0, 1,600, 0, 0, 1,500, 1,000, 2,300, 600, and 2,750, 0. And so I need to take those vertices. So there they are. There are my vertices, and I need to verify it. So that's my x value, and that's my y value that I'm plugging into my profit function. So I plugged in 0 and 1,600, 0 and 0, 1,500 and 1,000, etc., and I put them all into the calculator, and I need to look which one of those is going to be the highest. And so this one right here happens to be the highest. And so that means I need to sell 2,300 of table 1s and 600 of table 2's to maximize my profit. So to close today's lesson, go back through, and like I said, it's best to know the steps on linear programming, to go back through and review those steps, because it's always going to be that guiding force and how to move to that next step. This does conclude our lesson. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments.